LKQ Euro car parts garage concept, Honda EG6 EV, Delphi Tesla training, Circle K and Volkswagen Shell charging, Waymo robotic taxis, California ban truck, Mercedes-Benz get help from the F1 team, Toyota GR Corolla hydrogen racing 24 hours. Hello, I'm Paul Callan and welcome to this week's MotorZen news. LKQ or LKQ Euro Parts are launching a garage concept. They're saying this is a unique garage concept. They're attempting to deliver best-in-class performance. They want to link up with professional independent workshops. They're setting a criteria. They're saying this criteria will be constantly analysed in order to hit high standards. They are calling the network One Tech Auto Hub. They want to reach a point where the customers actively seek out this brand. They want this brand to be recognised among car users as the best service, most efficient, most effective way to have your car serviced and repaired. So they're setting pretty high goals in this concept. But this is also interesting because a couple of weeks ago we reported on the story where Euro LKQ had done a deal with ALD Lease Plan to service and maintain their fleet. So I think they have to, it's a chicken and egg scenario here. They've done a deal, but they haven't actually got the grouping of independent workshops on board yet. So I think this is going to be a joint development where they have to develop the workshop and then develop relations with some of those big companies. Once they have the workshop standards high enough, they can feed in the work to the workshops. There's no mention of that, but I think that has to be the joined up thinking on this. Honda EG6, anybody who knows or watches anything to do with rallying in Ireland will be very familiar with the EG6. It's the Civic from around early 90s, I suppose. And traditionally in Ireland in rallying, it's always had a really powerful VTEC engine linked to a sequential gearbox, okay? And this is kind of a stable of Irish rallying. And you think, well, where does EV fit into that? Well, it does, because there's a company in Thailand called ECU Shop who are after putting an electric motor in an EG6, 250 horsepower at the wheels, 400 foot-pounds of torque, and wait for it, it's connected to a Quaife sequential gearbox. Okay, so electric motor and your big lever for your Quaife sequential gearbox. Battery is located on the back of the vehicle to give you a nice weight split. And this company, ECU Shop in Thailand, have also developed their own battery cooling system. Again, yeah, you've got an electric motor, but you're getting the power out of this thing by firing the gears at it. So it's a very interesting mix of old and new, and old drive feelings in an old car, but yet and all using new battery technology from this company, ECU Shop. Delphi Academy, which is the online training support that Delphi offer. They also offer workshop-based training, but they're introducing a Tesla e-learning module. So it's kind of the first aftermarket Tesla training information that I've seen from anybody. I might be wrong on this. This is a new idea within the Delphi Academy, where they're going to start to give brand-specific training modules, which is really interesting because so many times the training information from all of these companies is general and a little bit woolly. In this case here, they seem to be getting down very much with Tesla into the nitty-gritty. They're going to say there's 10 parts to the module. It's going to do ID, data, parts information, diagnostic, hardware, and also going to do common jobs and common issues that are creating problems. What it says in it is that one particular thing they've noticed with Tesla is that they use Microsoft security. So configuration of your diagnostic equipment is critical, or you will be thrown out and you won't access the system. But they're introducing their new BlueTech diagnostic tool in conjunction with this training. So They're also going to launch in the summertime what they're describing as PSA group training, which I presume is Stellantis, but then there's 15 brands in that, so maybe it is just Peugeot Citroën. But again, it's brand specific. So new initiative here to see this brand specific coming from these training bodies, which I think will be very helpful to the aftermarket. Again, last week we done a story from Arnold Clark, where Arnold Clark was rolling out EV charge stations in its dealerships. This is the really interesting thing that's happening now with EV, is that EV was seen as being range anxiety. Well, really, in a very short space of time, the anxiety now seems to have gone from range, or range is no longer where the anxiety is. The anxiety is now on charge anxiety. And it looks to be now that everybody's grappling to try and speed up and react to this demand, because an interesting sidebar to this was the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders in the UK. They had predicted that the EVs would take 19% of the UK market this year. Well, they've actually rolled that back slightly to 18%. And they're saying the reason for this is charge anxiety. Well, Circle K are rolling out 30 new EV charge sites in Ireland. They've already got one of these new charge sites in Carlow and Fermoy. Those two sites are 300 kilowatt. Their remaining are going to be 150 kilowatt, and they're spending 700 million euros on rolling out this infrastructure. They will be branded Circle K. So you'll have a branded Circle K petrol or diesel. Now you're going to have a branded Circle K electricity, so to speak. Another interesting development in the charging is that Volkswagen have partnered up with Shell, and they are bringing Volkswagen technology to the table here. They're going to roll out a network of charging stations, and this is the automaker. So in this instance, we have the traditional Circle K, the fuel retailers. We had Arnold Clark, which is a group of garages, dealerships, which is offering charging. And in this case here, we have the manufacturer getting in bed with the traditional oil company to offer charging. The interesting thing about this concept coming from Volkswagen is they've got a battery storage system. So really they're installing a battery on the site, will allow them to be able to put in charging infrastructure on a low voltage grid connection, and there's no special transformer needed for this. So this would mean a much faster installation, and installations in locations that may otherwise not be able to have an installation. And they're saying that this will be putting out 150 kilowatt, which they're saying roughly speaking is 100 miles in 10 minutes is what they're looking to achieve. So another interesting one, because this concept from Volkswagen kind of gets over this issue that in some areas you don't have sufficient grid capacity to put in a charge facility. So again, all these different scenarios occurring on the charging side of things, but clearly the issue is on the charge points. Not enough charge points is how the consumer is reacting to this now. Waymo robotic taxis, which are currently in operation using GM vehicles in America, want to expand the area in Phoenix, Arizona that they're using for the driverless vehicles. Currently, they're working in 180 square miles. They say this is the largest fully autonomous area in the world. They are hoping to roll out in San Francisco. They are waiting to get a permit to allow them to charge for no safety driver, so completely driverless vehicle in California. They say that they're doing 10,000 trips a day. Some of those are with a safety driver, but they're now moving to in other words, a person that's there to take over. They are now moving to no driver. They predict that by next year, they're going to have their journeys up to 100,000 a day, because they're also going to roll out in Los Angeles, but there's no date on that yet. But obviously, if they're predicting to go from 10,000 a day to 100,000 a day, they need to get much bigger rollout of the Waymo robo-taxis. Interesting one in this idea is that here in Ireland, we don't even have Uber, if you understand me. So you can see technologies moving on here that you don't even need a driver anymore. But our system here is saying, no, it's the traditional old way and that's it. So lots of changes to occur in that sector. staying with California, yeah, their ban for ICE vehicles is 2035. But this week they announced that they're going to ban heavy-duty diesel trucks by 2036, or at least start to ban them. They're setting a different schedule on different sectors. They're saying waste trucks and buses for 2040, port to warehouse trucks for 2042, but they're saying public service trucks will go by 2027. And on the back of this, Toyota and PACCAR are developing and are ready to launch a truck that's using a fuel cell. The fuel cell technology is coming from Toyota. Tank, fuel cell, stack, batteries, motors, transmission, all coming from Toyota that's been built into this truck. And as a zero emission powertrain. It's passed and been certified in California to be a zero transmission powertrain. Also, Hyundai have announced that they're going to come into America with their own heavy duty truck with the fuel cell, and also they want to help with rolling out hydrogen infrastructure as well. So again, this idea here of the trucks using hydrogen is a driver of hydrogen infrastructure, which ultimately may see us go from electric cars to hydrogen cars, because I think if the trucks have the infrastructure in, why not go with the cars? But I think at that stage the battery technology will be so good you might want to change from it. Mercedes-Benz have used their F1 team to help them in development, and the EQXX, their concept electric car, does 6 miles per kilowatt hour on a battery half the size of their EQS vehicle. And it took them only 18 months to develop that vehicle when the normal length of time is 58 months. And the reasoning behind this is the assistance from F1. Therefore, Ford and Audi are committing to F1 for 2026. GM are trying to get into F1 through the Andretti race team. And the reasoning behind all of this is what the manufacturers have discovered is now that F1 gives you the best engineers, and they realise that if they're involved in motorsport, certainly to this level of motorsport, F1, the ultimately highest level of technology, that they can access the best engineers. And also it's slightly different in that these engineers are experienced in designing software-defined cars. So it's a kind of a skill that's not that common in traditional legacy manufacturers. They're realizing that they need different skills to produce these EV type vehicles. And also the data and information they can gain from running an F1 is very valuable. And that's been demonstrated by Mercedes. And that's why some of the other brands are starting to look to get in there. So 2026 is going to be interesting when we start to see more of the car manufacturers in F1, and then the technology developments that will come out of that. Toyota, their GR Corolla, running on liquid hydrogen. So this is an internal combustion engine. They're racing this car in Japan. We've done a story on the car where it had a fuel leak a couple of weeks ago on hydrogen. The system shut down in 0.1 of a second. They discovered the problem was due to a vibration on a coupling. What they say is that a simple spark will set off petrol. In the case of hydrogen, you need 4% air and you need a temperature of at least 550 degrees centigrade. So they're saying it's less dangerous than petrol. But they're going to run this car in the 24-hour Fuji race on the Fuji racetrack in Japan. So again, we've been tracking the performance of this car. Again, an internal combustion engine using hydrogen. They've raced it now for almost a year in this Japanese race championship. It's going to do 24 hours of Fuji now. So again, all interesting developments and interesting information going to come back off that. And again, remembering, normal piston engine. That's it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching. And we have a good solid base there now. But anybody you know, anybody you might be able to pass on the show to, please do like, comment and subscribe if you can, and see you next week. Thanks, bye.